Abuti unferi amanati aksa khana wetara. Abuti asuna unsuna munati aksa khana wetara. Abuti unferi.
Outrage over the rape statistics is quite rightly massive, and the hang 'em high, castrate them all, deny bail brigade are out in force at the moment. They're very, very vocal.
7-year-old girl was allegedly repeatedly raped.
I'm not saying she's looking for it, but she's basically pressing a button.
Why were you out?
You were drinking, you looked for trouble.
She's asking for it.
You know, sometimes no means yes.
The act that governs sexual violence describes rape as the penetration of a person by an object or sexual organ without consent. What is often overlooked is the fact that rape is the aftermath. It's the culmination of many smaller transgressions that violate our space and dignity. A collection of attitudes, stereotypes, and beliefs that trivialize violence and relentlessly reproduce unjust outcomes.
Power. What's your understanding of the word power?
Ma'am used the powerful word overlook, and we have accepted it. We use it in our daily lives, and it's become almost a joke. And I think that's why people think it's okay to cross that border or cross that line, because to them it's normal. I mean, yesterday you let me joke about me and you together, and now today I'm touching you, and all of a sudden you're saying no. Is that true? People see you standing with a guy, and then they hear that something happened during the weekend, and you're afraid to say, no, that didn't happen, or yes, it did happen, I didn't want it to happen, because they're like, oh, please, you know, oh, she just wants to seem innocent now.
There are celebrities out there who actually, you know, have these videos whereby these girls are stripping and whatnot, and they, you know, half naked. And then it works with your subconscious as well. If I, you know, have sex with this girl, people will respect me, they'll worship me, they'll honor me. And I mean, I'll go through anything if I can have sex with this girl.
Even when we're walking home from school, people are just like, hey, sweetie, babes. And it makes you feel uncomfortable, but you overlook it because you don't want to be dramatic. Then you think of yourself, maybe I am a babes. Maybe I asked for it. Maybe I shouldn't have worn these leggings. Maybe I shouldn't have worn these shorts. Maybe I should have pulled my top up. Do you get what I'm saying? So you kind of feel like you've asked for it.
It's like a wolf pack. A wolf pack. You don't want to be alone. You want to be in a certain wolf pack. It's all about acceptance. And that acceptance drives you to do certain things.
Gender is dictated by society through expectations. So Tseho overlooks the jokes not to appear dramatic. And Lebogang says boys will do things to belong. The blurring of lines is already a norm, and saying no is difficult. Isaac and Thabo grew up in rural Limpopo, and what they witnessed there is something they're still struggling to make sense of today.
It's a belt, so it's kind of a, yeah, it's a belt, a queue, a line, yeah, that's what they call it. So every time, no, so it's like I gang raped. I was in a group of boys and we gang raped. And these are people, some of them have boyfriends. I mean, they've got girlfriends, steady girlfriends, but they just do it just so that at least they can break through into that crew. These young girls were scared to go back home and say, this is what happened to me, because of, obviously the issue will be like, what were you doing with them? You know, she'll be beaten. You know, they'll beat her. You know, it's a case of why did you allow this? As if like it's her fault. Why did you allow this?
As young boys, Isaac and Thabo felt there was something wrong with Libanta, and that's why they never joined the queue. But looking back now, as grown men, would they call Lebanta rape?
That's tough. It's tough. I don't know what would really make it rape.
Is it because there was more than one guy?
I don't know if it's anything like consensual rape or not.
There was a thin line between Lepanta and what you would call people partying and probably, let's say, having an orgy.
At that time, to me, I didn't even think of it as a rape. I just know that there should be something wrong with this. But I didn't really elevate it to as far as rape. You know, to me, it was just a funny maybe way of, you know, breaking your virginity or maybe having sex.
The South African law defines rape clearly, but these men still debate the line between consent and coercion. And some believe their entitlement to sex trumps a woman's right to say no.
If you take her out for a dinner or you take her to movies or something like that, do you expect something out of it?
Of course. Of course. Yeah.
What do you expect?
Everything. Full Monty.
And why is that?
Why not? I mean, yeah, it's like going to a prostitute. It's the same. You pay for it, you get some.
What happens if she says no?
Oh, I've got a hand.
A lot of people have got wives, yeah. If one wife that says no, another one will say yes. And, you know, sometimes no means yes. Sometimes it's like, you know, no. And then all of a sudden, 2 minutes later, she's thinking about it and she says, listen, let's try again, you know. And then it sort of, you get mixed up, and some guys get horribly drunk. I mean, I'm unfortunately the only guy here that can handle my liquor. But I mean, somebody that can't handle their liquor completely out of it, maybe he makes a mistake. And it is a mistake. It's wrong. It's completely wrong. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, there's always another side of the coin. There's always something to discuss. I mean, we're men. I mean, you know that there's been situations, I'm sure everybody around you will say that there's been a situation when you thought, listen, this doesn't feel right, or
it's
you know,
borderline, yeah.
You know, or you get to that point and it's like, listen, yes, if you say no now, there's big problems.
Yeah.
Do you understand? That's all I'm saying. There's always the different side.
I think women should also know where to draw the line. I mean, if you are gonna wear skimpy clothes and you're flirting continuously and you keep on going, and I mean, you obviously, when you're single, you're gonna try. And I mean, sometimes you don't succeed, but you're still gonna try. And I think they should also know where to draw the line, because some of the people, there is unfortunate people out there that don't know when to take no for an answer.
Batsadi di na le bohloko bo monate e ya mawa wa dumela mawa ha o tshong o motho o lo reta o re itshune, and then o lo bua o etsa mara motho wa hana sape, and then wa dumela ba tsama kena ka tlung la bua o re have sex wa hana wa mjuta wa dumela, and then o tla pain okay e bohloko mare e monate wa bo ke ntse tse jwalo. Alcohol. Yeah, if in an alcohol, you can't forget.
Sahana ke ke school. So I'm going to 6. After 4 Sahana bi be tsama na kwetlo go o ke no ba ba o Sahana tlo wa tsama. Ha o fita ka tlung, ha o salla jwale ntho. Ke o latlhelwa ke mathata a mfita. Kana go se qetile tsa ntho tse jwalo ntho se ilisa ka so mthudisa. Ha ya bona o emetse ke phafeng we gop. Sagano hey me go mbiti ba go ka ena me go sola tulo ba tshaba ba tlemela sedursa so sha tulo kwa the second one a bita ya o tshwane me
o bo mo fre on the spot ba o dumele le yena ba o tshotse mo go ratang ka teng o khele tsamaye le mo le yang ha le fitla le wena o so nkwe le kenkane wa tseba ke sometimes sa sana ka kelelo so nana ka joni jwa ka mona na le mo mas 8 years to 10 years o sci-fi so bona How sana hana clearly lo ena ka mona ke alcohol ka mona ke letswai wa bona ka mona ke peer pressure ka mona lena ke ngwana ona di gopetsa hae ke tsena so sometimes ha o khone o thola go wetseng wa hana le ena ka po wa dumela ka po batla nne ke mojuthe o yella pele gore o botona so re ipile he
ba ga jae fela ba go todisitse mona ba ntse ba sa teng le o utlwa le gona kana le maikutlo ane pela ka city ba se ye a ke re motho wa dumela re tsa ntho ga dumela ga bua ye gore mona ke re ba re di two sharp ha re fitla pele ka nna re ka ga ke mtshwara a ba ga nna se ka ntshwara ke kgathitse tlamile ke mtlwelle aye ha ke mfoster ke mtshwara sa batle ke tlo mo ke sentse nlilela man me lo reng ke a mo reipa yena a dumela ke nna batla le ne majitang ka advantage ga ke ngwana na itseng re sebisa bo chama boy ra chama boy a mona Wanuna va wa qhosha wa qhosha mbetiri ka e fita pound ke re kala di biri tsa ngata fela le o shapa stream of fita pound man like gang like
Okay. So let's get talking straight away. I mean, I enjoy flirting. If you tell me to stop flirting, I'm going to tell you to stop doing other things. I mean, I enjoy it. But I'm very, very upfront. Men and women, they play games. We all play games. We've all done it. It's how we interact with each other. I don't think we want to make everything so serious that you have to say, okay, can't flirt with the guy now. I mean, I just think there are limits.
It's very much a case of how we educate and the values that we instill within our sons or in the men of today. Because the focus is so on, do we basically create the behavior, contribute to the behaviors of other women? But should we not be looking at the men and asking, like, where is this all coming from?
What does this mean for women, that you have to be responsible for how men behave? Because that's ridiculous. You're basically being taught that men are animals and they're the victim of their own urges, whereas that's where I think we're in a culture that sort of says don't get raped instead of don't rape.
In 2012, Annalise Creek made history. A 7-year legal battle against her husband marked the first successful prosecution of rape within a marriage since the Domestic Violence Act came into effect in 1996. In court, Annalise, like many other rape survivors, found that stereotypical views about women and sex are also entrenched in our criminal justice system.
Annalise Creek's case was a particularly difficult matter. What made it difficult that it was specifically a rape within a marriage. There is such an issue of shame, especially in domestic violence type of setups. It is very difficult for a complainant to go to the nearest rooftop and say, my husband has been raping me, my partner has been abusing me.
He can, and he may, and he will abuse. It's his house, it's his wife.
Women don't report it to anyone else. They don't go to the police. They don't go to medical practitioners to be treated for injuries, etc., etc.
Fear made me lie on paper of how I got my injuries.
Because you did not report the matter, that means there should be a question with regards to your credibility. Maybe you are lying about it. Maybe this is something you made up.
The abuser can be the main cause for women not reporting because of fear and intimidation. But the justice system is just as scary. It's a jungle out there.
The accused has to prove nothing. What he has to do at the end of the day is put forth to the court a version of events that the court may find to be reasonably possibly true. The court doesn't even have to believe the version. You will necessarily have questions about how much did you drink, what were you wearing, how often do you go to bars, etc. Sort of not specifically overtly suggesting anything, but sort of just leaving it hanging in the air. This is something that might have an issue on credibility and impact on credibility. It is very difficult, I think, for people to detach themselves from their personal prejudice. What was she doing in the bar in the first place? Should a woman alone be in a bar by herself? Should she be wearing a skirt that short? Should she be wearing a top that revealing? Because you did not scream, shout, and kick your known perpetrator, you are not telling the truth.
The law cannot
change the attitudes of society, can enforce its laws and the norms of society in those matters that come before the courts. But to really address societal attitudes, we need a collective effort on many levels.
At the end of the day, it has to be worth it. I cannot, other than tell every complainant or ask every complainant, never ever give up the good fight. At the end of the day, somewhere along the line, someone will have to hear your voice. And if there are enough voices together, that is eventually possibly going to start changing minds and prejudices and perspectives.